One of the last things my daughter said to me was, "Daddy, I don't want to die. Look me square in the eye." All I could do was stand there, lie to her that it was going to be okay. But inside, I was screaming at the Lord, how could he do this again? My name's Larry Cooper. I'm a retired police officer, father, grandfather, husband. I'm going to tell you this story so maybe it'll help somebody out there or help you. I grew up with a great family. I had a really good childhood. Parents loved me and my brothers. They even took me to church. I was baptized there. But looking back, it didn't mean that much. It was just what all the kids did. Early on with the family, things were really good. A little tight at times because of financial stuff, but really good marriage. Things didn't really get turned bad until I got my first layoff from work. It was hard to find other jobs that had any insurance. About this time, my daughter was born. She has cystic fibrosis, a genetic disease, 50-50 chance to make it to the age of 7. It required a lot, surgeries, treatments, medicine. The burden financially and mentally was just really too much. About this time too, my mother was battling breast cancer. She was only 47 years old when she died. It was really hard. And I was starting to get pretty angry and disappointed in life in general. It was a lot. I just stayed mad. Started the Houston Police Department at this time. And I was an accident investigator and I investigated fatality accidents. That doesn't sound too bad, but it's really bad when it's children involved. It's extremely hard to do, to be professional, do your job, not get emotional. You see, the emotion would come at nighttime when you go home. You close your eyes. You didn't want to burden anybody with it. And I was getting really discouraged at life in general. Looking about that, I'd lost my mom. I was watching my daughter in a struggle constantly, just trying to breathe. I was angry at everything. At this point, I wasn't even sure I believed in God. My faith was taking a nosedive. I was angry and questioning everything. I wasn't getting any answers at all. But then the very worst of worst happened. My son Jason, who was 18 at the time, had just turned 18. He was a great kid, never in any real trouble, straight A student, jovial, great guy. Took his own life. Yeah. It about destroyed me. We didn't know why, because he didn't leave a note. We had to go to the hospital because they had put him on life support. I remember sitting with my wife. They had me go down a list on like a check boxes of what body parts they could harvest. It was so hard to do. And not only was I just completely traumatized, I was mad at myself because I didn't realize or was not aware of what my son had been going through. I was completely blind to it. 5 years later, my daughter had a double lung transplant. My wife and I sat at her bedside for 10 weeks straight. We didn't even leave the hospital. They were a tough time, but during this time, my daughter started to fade. I was so mad at the Lord. Somebody I was about convinced really didn't exist with everything. One of the last things my daughter said to me was, "Daddy, I don't want to die. Look me square in the eye." All I could do was stand there, lie to her that it was going to be okay. But inside, I was screaming at the Lord. How could he do this again? Doctor said it was up to us what to do, and the decision was given to me to make, to let her go. Imagine doing that. No parent should have to do this either. So we let her go. The decision that haunts me to this day, was it right? I don't know. Life for me at this point was non-existent inside. Most people couldn't tell it, because I wasn't going to tell anybody. Wasn't anybody to tell it to. Nobody to talk to, nobody could understand. My son Brody afterwards, his approach to all this was a lot different than mine. Brody's faith got stronger. Got so involved with Blast Cast and going to all these events. And I was happy for him, I really was. I didn't understand it, but I was taking note. I was watching my grandchildren involved in Blast Cast. I was very happy for them, but I didn't understand it. Brody, over the years, asked me multiple times to accompany him to Blast Cast events. I wasn't having any part of it. I didn't know what all they did, but after what God had done to me and my family, I didn't feel like I wanted any part of him, if there was a God. But one day, Brody, see, he persisted. He kept asking me to go. And I'll never forget the phone call. And he told me, he said, "Dad, there's a youth hunt at Lake Proctor, and he'd like for me to go and help." He thought I'd really enjoy it, especially with all the kids. Before I knew it, yes came out of my mouth. That was God. And that was the one decision, I think, that led me in the path of salvation. It was eye-opening experience. I didn't realize it at the time, but something was starting to change in me to where I really had fun. That's not my way, especially with a group of people I don't know. But that's also where I met Richard Wade. He, by his own words, he was bad news, but Richard found God in prison for all the right reasons. And God answered his prayers and changed Richard. I saw the change in what he was talking about. After that, we went to several Blast Cast events over the next 2 years. Richard and I had long hours of talking, and his knowledge of the Bible, his wisdom of what to say to me, it really got my attention. He's also one of the first people I've ever told how much I had hated God and almost didn't believe in him. I'd never done that before. There at those Blast Cast events, I would hear the speakers when they're talking. It's like it was directed straight to me. They didn't know me, nor were they even looking at me. But every word was what I needed to hear. And that had a very large impact on me. It got me to really thinking on things.
Church, this is Larry Cooper.
I was very nervous about being baptized, because anybody that knows me, I don't like being up front. I don't like being the center of attention. And here I was, an old man, going to go up on the altar and get baptized, and I didn't know what to think about that. But you know, the day of my baptism, none of those thoughts entered my mind. I couldn't wait to get up there and do it. You see, I needed the Lord. I needed help. I was in trouble, and I knew it. I still didn't understand everything, but I was going to give it a shot. Pastor Rob laid me back, put me under the water. What happened when I came out of that water, there's really no way to describe. It was like a miracle. In that instant, Lord, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't so full of hurt. I felt elation. I felt something come into me. Maybe the Holy Spirit, I don't know. But something took over me and took so much away from me. Just like I'd prayed for. It was the first time in my life something I'd prayed for really happened. Something as simple as that. It's like also that my eyes were opened. I started seeing things that I'd never noticed before or seen. I started seeing that God had put a lot of people in my path to help me fight off this anger and get me through life. Namely my wife. Wow, what a woman. She was my rock throughout. She never complained once. Early on, when we didn't have time for one another, we didn't have time for this, money for this. All her concern was holding this family together and making sure everybody was happy as could be, and my daughter as healthy as could be. Quite a woman. Not only my wife, but really my best friend. Nobody I'd rather spend time with. My son Brody. Without his persistence, keep asking me to go to Blast Cast and keep trying to talk to me, even though I was hard-headed about it. And mostly the Lord, how He's used everybody to speak to me, and He didn't give up on me. I can't wait to go to church every Sunday. My life's pretty well centered around it. Everything else is secondary. I'm so grateful for what God has done for me. Even after things I said, things I did, for some reason He thought I was worthy. If you think your life's so bad, that you've done too much, that you've said too much hurtful things to the Lord, if you think He's not there with you, you know you're wrong. God's right beside you. Don't be like me, wasting away in hell for 24 years. A personal hell that I designed. Reach out to Him, He's right beside you.
Head first.
Oh my gosh.
Head first.
In front again.
Yeah.
Alright, okay. Now, high five.
There you go, Tim.